Florida, 1990. It was a blisteringly hot June morning in Port St. Joe, Florida, when a woman stepped out of her car in the parking lot of a local convenience store. She was on her way to pick up some groceries. But something unusual caught her eye. On the ground, near the driver's side of another parked vehicle, was a Polaroid photograph. It was slightly crumpled, the edges bent as if it had been handled multiple times. She picked it up, not thinking much of it, until she saw what was in the picture. Her breath caught in her throat. The image showed a teenage girl, bound and gagged with duct tape, her wide, terrified eyes staring straight into the camera. Her face was pale, her dark hair slightly disheveled, her expression a mixture of panic and exhaustion. Beside her sat a young boy, no older than 8 or 9, also bound and gagged, looking equally terrified. The two children were sitting on what appeared to be a bed inside a van, their bodies tense, their eyes screaming for help. A chill ran down the woman's spine. She immediately rushed into the store and handed the Polaroid to the clerk behind the counter, who quickly called the local police. Within an hour, investigators arrived at the scene. The photo was sent to forensic specialists, who began analyzing every inch of the image, hoping to uncover its origins. But as the days passed, the mystery only deepened. Who were the children in the picture? Where had the photo come from? And most chilling of all, where were they now? Then suddenly, a possible break. The investigation quickly gained national attention. The Polaroid was featured on major news networks, and eventually it was aired on Unsolved Mysteries and America's Most Wanted. That's when Mrs. Patty Dozier, a woman from Belen, New Mexico, saw the image on TV. The moment she laid eyes on the girl, her heart stopped. "That's Tara!" Tara Calico had been missing for nearly 2 years. She had vanished on September 20th, 1988, while riding her neon-pink Huffy bicycle along Highway 47, a quiet desert road she frequently biked on. That morning, she had left home around 9:30 a.m., promising her mother, Patty Calico, that she'd return before noon, but she never came back. A search party was immediately launched. Soon, investigators discovered pieces of Tara's Walkman and cassette tapes scattered along the roadside, as if she had deliberately dropped them as a trail. Several witnesses came forward reporting that they had seen a white pickup truck with a camper shell following closely behind her, but no trace of Tara was ever found. Now in 1990, this mysterious Polaroid had reignited the investigation. Could Tara still be alive? Was she the girl in the picture? Then, another shocking connection emerged. The boy in the photograph bore a strong resemblance to Michael Henley, a 9-year-old boy who had vanished in April 1988 while on a camping trip with his family in the Zuni Mountains of New Mexico. Authorities speculated that Michael had been abducted around the same time Tara had disappeared. It seemed too coincidental to ignore. Had the two children been kidnapped by the same person? The case seemed on the verge of being cracked. But then, something unexpected happened. In 1991, Michael Henley's remains were found in the Zuni Mountains, not far from where he had disappeared. He had never been kidnapped. He had simply gotten lost in the wilderness and succumbed to exposure. And Tara, her fate remained a terrifying mystery. For years, the Polaroid haunted investigators, but they had no new leads. Until the early 2000s, when a new suspect emerged, a man whose crimes were far worse than anyone could have imagined. His name was Franklin Delano. A known violent offender, Delano had a lengthy criminal record spanning decades, including kidnapping and sexual assault. But what truly disturbed investigators was his connection to another missing girl, one whose life was as tragic as Tara's. Her name was Sharon Marshall. Sharon had been a bright, intelligent high school student in the 1980s, known for her kindness and academic excellence. She had dreams of becoming an aerospace engineer, had been offered a full scholarship to Georgia Tech, and was loved by her classmates. But her life was a horrifying lie. The man raising her was not her father at all. He was Franklin Delano, a serial disturbed predator. In reality, Sharon had been kidnapped as a child, her identity erased. Delano had forced her into a life of crime, controlling her every move. In 1990, Sharon was found severely beaten, left brain dead in a hospital bed. Delano claimed she had fallen from a moving car. A few days later, Sharon was taken off life support. She was only 20 years old. And now, investigators had reason to believe that Tara Calico may have suffered the same fate. As authorities dug deeper into Delano's dark past, when they discovered a disturbing pattern, he had spent years abducting young girls, forcing them into false identities and keeping them trapped in lives of abuse. Given what was known about his crimes, many investigators began to suspect that Delano may have abducted Tara Calico. If true, then it meant the Polaroid had captured her during her captivity, a haunting final image of a girl who had fought so hard to survive. But Delano never admitted any connection to Tara. The authorities failed to prove any link to Tara, and to this day, her whereabouts remain unknown. Though Tara's body was never found, Floyd was convicted for multiple crimes, bringing partial justice to a horrifying saga. The Polaroid, that single horrifying image, remains one of the greatest mysteries in American crime history. It is a frozen moment of fear, a silent plea for help, and a clue to a story that has never been fully told. And somewhere, someone still knows the truth.